Have you ever Googled how to make money online and immediately regretted it? Yeah, me too. But somewhere in between dropshipping rabbit holes and MLM horror stories, I stumbled into digital products and I gave it a shot, a real shot, and it actually worked. Now, I'm sure you've heard the term digital products floating around the internet, and you might find yourself thinking,
yeah, cool, that sounds great, but I don't even really know what that entails. Where to start, or even if it's a real, legitimate way to make money, or if it's just one of those things that people hype up to eventually sell me something.
trust me, I get it. I've been there. And in this video, I'm going to cover all of it, and I'm not going to try to sell you anything. So first, what exactly is a digital product? If you're new to the space, a digital product is anything that you create online that is delivered to a customer digitally, meaning that there is no physical product or shipping involved. This could be something like Canva templates, which is what I sell, planners, ebooks, digital wall art, spreadsheets, checklists, clip art. The list goes on. It is literally infinite. And the best part is that once it is made, it can sell over and over again without any additional work. And that is what makes digital products so powerful. When done right, they are one of the most realistic ways to build passive income that keeps coming in even when you're not actively working. But, and this is a big but, selling digital products is not just about slapping a file online and then watching the sales roll in. There is a lot that goes into doing it successfully, and you have to be willing to put in serious work up front, because passive income is not built passively. And that's exactly what we're diving into today. I'm breaking down everything you actually need to get started selling digital products, from choosing your product or niche to picking a design tool, to selecting a platform to actually sell your product on, creating a sustainable plan, and most importantly, having the grit to stick to it when things don't take off right away. And if you are new here, hi, I'm Erica. I started a digital product Etsy shop in January of this year, so about 6 months ago, and I have since brought in over 1,000 orders. I make videos here on YouTube documenting that journey and sharing all of the tips I'm learning along the way. And I take a very realistic, no BS approach. I am not here to sugarcoat the work that it takes. I am here to give you actual value that you can apply to your own life and businesses. And the timestamps for this video are in the description below, so if you want to skip to a specific section, you can. But without further ado, let's get into it. First things first, let's start with what you are actually going to sell. You need to pick a product, or more importantly, you need to pick a niche. This is where most people get stuck, because technically you can sell literally anything digital. Planners, invitations, digital wall art, resume templates, checklists, ebooks, courses, social media templates, party decor, logos. The list is literally endless. But don't let that overwhelm you. You just have to start by picking a niche. So what even is a niche exactly? A niche is simply the specific audience or category that your products are made for. Some examples could be homeschooling, weddings, personal finance, cooking, fitness, etc. And one of the smartest ways to go about choosing a niche is to choose a specific type of audience or customer rather than choosing a specific product. When all of your products are created with the same audience in mind, even if they're different types, you are much more likely to create repeat sales or have people buy multiple things at once. And that gives you more freedom to be able to create various product types. And my best piece of advice when picking a niche is to choose a niche where you are the target audience or customer. If you are a mom planning your kid's birthday party, you probably already know what people look for in a birthday invitation. If you're into fitness, you probably know what type of metrics people like to record when using a workout tracker. And if you've got a background in, let's say, content creation, then creating Instagram templates is going to come naturally. And if you're sitting there thinking,
Okay, but I don't have anything like that,
I'm going to stop you right there. Yes, you do. Let's get even more niche. If you're into baking sourdough, then you probably know what would go on a sourdough care card that someone might include when selling their starter. If you're a plant lover, you know how helpful a plant watering tracker can be. If you love camping, then you could create a packing list that adjusts based on trip length. If you are obsessed with dogs, you could create digital wall art featuring different breeds. Literally, just type into Etsy the word printable followed by a hobby or interest you have, and you will be given a plethora of product ideas. The point is, whatever you are into, there is probably a digital product that you can create around it. And when you are the customer, you have a massive advantage. You understand the pain points, you know what people are looking for, and you know how to solve their problems because they are your problems too. That is where the best digital products come from. Not from guessing, not from copying, but from understanding who exactly you are creating for and what they want or need. That said, I do want to make a note about niching down, because it gets talked about a lot in the digital product space. Yes, niching down down is helpful. You don't want to be the person selling fitness trackers and wedding invitations and social media templates, because that's confusing for your buyer and for the algorithm. However, so many people get stuck on picking their niche. And honestly, my advice is to just stop overthinking it and just pick one. You can always change it. You are not stuck with the niche you originally picked forever. Just don't let this part of the process paralyze you and stop you from even starting. And this might be kind of controversial, but it is okay to pick a more broad niche, even a saturated one, as long as you are prepared to compete on quality, quantity, and originality. For instance, digital invites is insanely saturated, but there are shops like my own popping up every day making real money because they've nailed their designs, created a high volume of listings, and have stayed on top of the trends. And that's the last thing I'll say here. We live in a trend-based world. People are constantly searching for new themes, colors, designs, phrases. If you can stay on top of trends and create what people are looking for, you can win in even the most competitive niches. Okay, so now that you have picked your niche, the next question is, how are you going to create your product? There are so many great design tools out there, but here are some of the more popular ones. You have Canva, and this is what I personally use. It's easy, intuitive, and especially great for templates. Tons of people are familiar with Canva, which is great because if your customer has used it in the past, it will make for a smoother experience for them. There's Kittl, which is great for more complex or artistic designs, especially for t-shirt graphics, logos, and wall art. And it's also pretty beginner friendly and has a lot of flexibility. And they're known to have some pretty good design templates that you can kind of start your design with. There's also Cordial, which is often used for templates. And this is great because people can use it directly in their browser without even having to create any sort of account. This one's incredibly popular in the party printables niche for things like invitations. Then there's also Adobe Illustrator or Photoshop, which is probably more for experienced designers, as it's not the most beginner friendly and a little more advanced. And you even have Google Sheets or Excel, and yes, people do buy spreadsheets as digital products. Budget trackers, planners, meal planning templates. These are all great sellers. So pick the tool that makes the most sense for your product and your skill level. And remember, you do not need to be a graphic designer to design digital products. I certainly am not, and I fully taught myself just by doing it and watching videos on it. You'll improve with every product you create, and there is an infinite database called the internet where you can learn for free. So take advantage of that. Okay, so you have your niche and you've picked where you're going to create your designs. Let's talk about where you are actually going to sell your digital products, because this choice is so important, and it's one of those things that can make your life way easier or way more complicated depending on your goals and skill level. At a high level, there are two main options. One, you have a marketplace, so something like Etsy, or two, you can sell through your own platform or website. Let's break those down. So option one, a marketplace. Marketplaces are platforms that already have built-in traffic. That means that there are already people on a platform like Etsy searching right now. You get to show up in front of a ready-to-buy audience without having to create that audience yourself. That is a huge advantage when you are just starting out. And it's not just Etsy either. There are other digital product marketplaces like Creative Market, which is popular for design assets like fonts, graphics, and templates. There's Design Bundles, which is similar to Creative Market, but with more of an emphasis on commercial use products. And there's something called Teachers Pay Teachers, which is great if you are in the education space. Each of these has its own rules, audience, and fees, but the core idea is the same. You create the product, upload it, and the platform drives the traffic. Of course, you are not off the hook entirely. You still need to learn platform-specific SEO, like titles and tags, and create strong, high-quality products. And yes, you will pay fees, like transaction fees or listing fees, but if you are a solo creator or brand new to this, marketplaces take so much off your plate. No need to figure out web hosting, product delivery, email automation, or paid ads. You get to focus solely on making products and optimizing your listings, not building an entire business and marketing engine from scratch. So that brings me to option two. Now let's talk about if you do find it worth it to sell on your own website or platform. This could be through something like Shopify, Stan Store, or Squarespace. And this option gives you full control. You set the rules, you build the brand, you own your customer data, and you don't have to deal with platform fees or algorithms or having your products being listed right next to your competitors. It is an amazing long-term move if you want to build a recognizable brand or sell a signature product. But, and this is a big but, you have to drive your own traffic. Your products are not going to show up on Google search right from the get-go. So that means marketing, social media, growing an email list, creating content, possibly running ads, and eventually maybe even building a team to help you scale. It is absolutely doable and you can build something great from it. And there are people making a lot of money from this model, but it is a completely different game. It is not easier or better just because you're not paying fees. In fact, it is way more complex and it's going to have a much higher startup cost. Personally, I want nothing to do with driving traffic. Etsy's fees are entirely worth it to me. They can have their 6.5%. I am happy to pay that in exchange for an audience that I do not have to build myself. So here's my honest take. If you are just getting started and you want to build something that is more passive, then go with the marketplace. And if you've built some traction and you want to start to grow your own brand, start exploring your own site later as a second channel. And if you're torn, you can always do both. Start on a marketplace, build your shop, and when you're ready to scale, create a separate site that you can drive traffic to. That way you've got both short-term sales and long-term brand growth in motion. All right, moving on, let's talk about your plan, because let's be real for a second. If your plan is to put up a few thrown together digital files, wait a week and then decide if digital products are for you, that's not a plan, that's a hope. And hopes don't build businesses. It doesn't make money, and that is what we are here to do. If you actually want to make consistent income from selling digital products, you have to treat it like a business from day one. That doesn't mean that you need a 10-page business plan and LLC paperwork before you even upload your first product. But it does mean that you need to come in with intentionality. So here's what having a plan actually looks like. One, you got to do the research. You can't just guess what to make. Study your niche, explore keywords, and look what's already selling. Figure out how your product can offer something new, solve a problem, or meet a need in a way that other products aren't. You should be studying every single part of best-selling products in your niche, looking at their features, styles, pricing, mock-ups, keywords, everything. And you got to do it over and over again. You have to know what people are actually looking for, not just what you feel like creating. Number two, you got to learn the platform. We'll take Etsy as an example. If you're selling on Etsy, you need to take the time to understand how Etsy SEO works. Titles, tags, attributes, categories, it all matters. And this determines whether your products will or will not show up in front of customers when they are searching for it. And if you're selling on your own website, you need to understand that no one is going to magically land on your product page without traffic driving efforts like social media or email marketing. Knowing how to design is great, but if you don't know how to actually have your product get seen, then you are not going to be bringing in any sales. And the best part is that you can learn everything that you need to know for free. You don't need a degree. You don't need to buy an expensive course. We live in a time where you can literally learn how to build an entire business by watching 10-minute YouTube videos. So do that, watch them, take in all of the information about your craft that you possibly can. All right, number three, you gotta set realistic expectations. This is not a one and done kind of thing. You're probably going to spend a lot of hours upfront designing, tweaking, testing, learning, figuring out how to design better or how to make better mock-ups. You need to expect a learning curve. You need to expect slow days. You need to expect zero sales for a while and still keep going. So set a time frame for how long you are going to try this without quitting. For me, it was 3 months, and this is what I recommend for most people. I was going to give it my all for 3 full months, even if I saw zero sales. And guess what? In my first month, I created 30 products and got zero sales. But I set myself a 3-month timeline, and here I am now 6 months in with over 1,000 orders. So just let that sink in for a sec. So before you dive in, come up with a plan by asking yourself, what niche am I targeting? What type of products will I focus on? How often can I realistically create and upload? And for how long should I do it before I decide that it's not for me? Even if your answers evolve over time, starting with a plan and treating this like a business will give you clarity, momentum, and a much higher chance at succeeding. Because this is not a lottery ticket, it is a business, and you can't expect it to pay you like one if you don't treat it like one. All right, the last thing that we are going to cover is grit. You have to bring the grit. This is the secret ingredient that most people skip. So let's talk about something that no one really warned you about when you start selling digital products. You are probably going to want to quit, and probably more than once. And not because you're not capable, but because you will hit the dip. There is actually a whole book on this, and it perfectly describes what happens in the beginning of almost anything worth doing. You start off excited, motivated, full of ideas, and then boom, you hit the dip. The dip is that stretch of time where things aren't taking off in the way that you hoped. Sales are slow or non-existent, your ideas feel mediocre, you're questioning everything, and it is way more work than you anticipated. This is where most people quit. But the thing is, the dip is supposed to happen. It's a filter. It weeds out the ones who give up quickly and makes room for the people that are willing to do the work. And if you push through it, you are already ahead of most people, because the ones that succeed at selling digital products are rarely the ones that were perfect right away. They are the ones who stuck around long enough to get good at it. They kept uploading new products when no one was buying. They kept improving their mock-ups, tweaking their SEO, testing new ideas, even when it felt like shouting into the void. They weren't more talented or more qualified, they were just more resilient. So here's what I'll leave you with. You will hit moments where you think this isn't working. You will wonder if it's worth it, and that is normal. But those moments, that's the dip. And your job isn't to avoid it, because in most cases you can't. Your job is to work through it so that you can eventually come out on the the other side. Yes, digital products can bring in passive income, but the passive part only comes after a lot of active effort. But I truly believe, and I'm an example of, the fact that anyone can do it. Okay, my friends, let's sum all of this up. Here is your TLDR version of the video. 1, pick a niche. 2, decide on your design tool. 3, pick your platform. 4, create a plan. And 5, have grit. I hope you found this video helpful. I do post weekly videos on here, so be sure to subscribe if you do not want to miss them. And thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next one. Bye.